Hello and welcome to week 5 of CTVR 280, our employment preparation Hollywood employment class. Today we're talking about, arriving in town, whatever that town may be. Traditionally it was Hollywood, and that is what the book kind of, specifies and leans towards, arriving in LA, but it might not necessarily be that these days. You may be moving to Vancouver in Canada, tons of productions. I'm actually working on a production with a friend that's, mostly going on up in Vancouver right now. Louisiana, lots of productions. Georgia is quickly becoming, they call it the Hollywood of the East Coast. Tyler Perry has bought an old military base there and basically converted it into a massive production studio. He's doing television and film from there. And, like I said, it's really becoming the moniker is, Hollywood East. So you're seeing more and more of that. Massachusetts as well. I believe Hollywood is now technically somewhere like fourth in terms of number of productions going on. Louisiana, Georgia, Massachusetts, Vancouver, all booming due to tax incentives that you can get. Some of them up to a 40% rebate. So that means if you're doing a $1 million budget movie, you're getting $400,000, from Vancouver put into a bank account. Then you can leverage for more money from other people. It's really incredible how much some of those incentives are to film. And you can find those kind of incentives yourself if you're a filmmaker. Just doing quick searches on the internet. There's whole websites dedicated to just incentives. I've put some links actually for some of the big ones that you're currently seeing. Louisiana, Vancouver, and Georgia in this presentation. You can click on and explore those if you want. Go check out, some of the information they provide. Really great resources. As far as getting set up as a crew member and how to find productions, all that kind of stuff. And that directly ties into what we're discussing here this week, which again is arriving in town. So we'll talk, the book specifically mentions LA. We'll kind of use that as a reference. It all applies to wherever you are. The location might be different, but when you're looking for something like a place to live, safety is always going to be paramount. It doesn't matter you're male, female, you want to have a safe place to live. You can come home to, relax, be comfortable. It's in your budget. You might have to be a little bit further out than you would like and commute somewhere, but you still want to make sure that you're finding that nice, safe place to live as a primary objective, no matter where you're going, no matter what town you're arriving in. As always, introduction slide with myself, Angelo Ford, your professor. You can reach out to me on TikTok. I put up little blips on there about filmmaking. Instagram, Twitter as well. Not so active on them, but I do make posts there. I love Letterboxd, engaging on Letterboxd, commenting, rating, sharing film ideas. Of course, as always, you can click the link here and explore some films that I think are just great when you're looking for a job, inspirational, or about the process of filmmaking. Of course, you can email me directly if there's anything you need from me on Canvas or aford@saddleback.edu. So, you arrive in town, and the first thing that you want to do is, you could even have started this before you got to wherever it is that whatever location you're heading out to, but casting a wide net of future contacts. Who do you know that knows somebody out there? Really reach in, dig into your contact list. LinkedIn, your social media friends. Friends of friends are the number one place that you're going to find connections, network growth, opportunities. Again, because your friends know you, and if they have an opportunity that they know of, they're probably going to share it with you. Their friends, one removed from you, might not necessarily be in contact with you ever. And it's not until your friend reaches out to that friend that makes that leap in the connection. And this is what LinkedIn is absolutely fabulous for. I comment on other friends' posts when I see things. I congratulate them on job opportunities. Just stay connected into that network. LinkedIn can be an absolute great place to expand your friends of friends network, as well as just your general, being in school with school contacts. Your friends in school, your friends in, your workplaces, all of these different places make great contacts. Maybe you have some relatives in a certain area that have friends that are involved in the entertainment industry or an industry that's a support industry of it. So, reach out to within your own family network, within your own industrial contacts. If it's okay, your boss of your current job is cool with you and knows you're going somewhere, Ask them, him or her, what they have as far as contacts in that area. And maybe they can, provide you a recommendation or put you in contact with somebody else who can help you expand your circles. And of course, school. We have so many different people we go to school with, and that are from all over the place. You don't know what their contacts are unless invites a friend out to some coffee and talk about their experience and where they grew up and where they're from. Maybe they have a best friend back there that they stay in contact with that would love to show you around, and be that common connection for you. So really, take the time to cast those nets. Think about, you're on the back of a fishing trolley, and you're casting nets out into the ocean. You're going to do it in different areas. Your friends, asking them to ask their friends, your relatives, your industry contacts, and of course your school contacts. Reach out as much as you can and just check out and utilize those social networks for more than just like posting, pretty pictures of ourselves at the beach or eating food somewhere. Utilize the social aspect of them. Like I said, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook groups, all really excellent ways to expand those connections. You want to learn your way around town. I've got a map of LA here. Figure out where the big hotspots are: Burbank, Santa Monica, Venice, downtown LA. Where are the studios? Kind of where are good places to go and meet people, hang out. All of those things. Los Angeles is a huge, sprawling metropolis. It's not laid out in any kind of logical order. And many towns are like this, especially the bigger towns that were started, maybe before the car, and then they were adapted. Chicago, Boston, New York. They're all very, very difficult to find your way around. And you want to make sure that you can get to an interview on time. You can get to an audition on time. So take some time on a weekend when you have time off and drive around, go explore, go look for studios down in Santa Monica. Try to find out, what some studios up in Burbank. How long does it take, midday to drive from Los Angeles to Santa Monica or up to Burbank? Kind of just explore that and note the traffic. Be advised of all of that. Make yourself, aware of the situation. To really help you out. And again, this applies to any city. I'm using LA as an example, but really understanding the different locales of LA, where you might want to live. You really can't do that online. You can get an idea, but it takes driving around cities during the day, at night. What kind of food is around these different places? Where can you stop to grab a bite to eat? Finding all of that out when you get to a new town is a really big part, I think, of becoming one with the situational awareness of the actual environment. I remember the first time that I went up to LA to rent some equipment, and I went to a rental house and they sent me to the next warehouse to go pick something up because they didn't have it in the current warehouse. They had it in their secondary warehouse, and it was literally a difference between West Hollywood and going all the way up to Burbank. I thought it was going to be a 5-minute drive. It ended up taking me all day, to pick up some walkie-talkies that I was renting from a props or a rental store in West Hollywood that I had to drive all the way to Burbank and then back down to southern Los Angeles for where we were actually filming. So, get an idea. Where are the big studios? Lacey Street Productions. I've done a bunch of movies there. Look and see where these different studios are, where these different rental houses are, where places are that you're likely to make films, rent things from, ISS props. A lot of these different things, whatever it is that you're focusing on, whether you're production design, director, producer, find some of the stuff that goes along with that. Costumes, you have Eastern and Western costumes up in LA. Explore all of these places, go out to them, grab a business card from them and engage the people, see what you can learn. And again, this isn't just applicable to LA. This is applicable to Vancouver, Boston, Massachusetts, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, or Atlanta, Georgia. It's all still applicable. Learning your way around town to figure out how long it takes to get places, where the different rental places are, where the different work sites typically are, and where you might want to live. All super important of learning your way around town when you get to a new locale. Speaking of new locales, when you're looking, you haven't even moved yet. You're thinking about it. You're still in school. You have a few months. Spend some time reading up on all of these different production locales. Go where the work is. 80% of you said you're willing to travel. and go find where these productions are. Take that to heart. Actually, you've got so many tools at your disposal now that I didn't have when I was younger. um, Even just maps. Google Maps is absolutely phenomenal for learning where things are. And I've given you a few links here. You can click on each one. When you click on it, it's going to take you to a production website. I think these are all hosted by the government, by the local governments of the places that I put them in. And you're going to have all kinds of different information about where films are, what kind of productions are going on, different places to rent things, all kinds of informations about their tax incentives, and just where to find jobs in general. Really nice websites that you can find just a lot of information on. And now's the time to do that. Do it while you're in school, so you're not behind the curve when you actually get to one of these places. You've sorted it out and you have a pretty good idea of what neighborhood you want to live in. Then it's just a matter of finding out the specifics, where the job sites are, where the different productions are happening, where you can find work to get into that pipeline, and keep things moving along. Again, Louisiana, Georgia, Vancouver, big locales. You can find tons of stuff on local websites here for Los Angeles. Same thing with Massachusetts. You can go if maybe you're interested in North Carolina. There's lots of other places. Just do a quick Google search for North Carolina film production information, and see what you find. Sort through it. Look for the government one first. There's usually a local government website that puts out all kinds of great information before you start going and digging into some of the commercial ones that are probably trying to sell you something. Which is good. A lot of them have great information, but go stick with those government ones first, and you'll find out a lot of really great free info that's not commercialized. The movie language, movie speak. This little book here, Movie Speak, is fabulous. It's by Tony Bill. I recommend it actually to all my production students for my film classes. It goes through and it just identifies a lot of the lingo that you're going to hear in movie world, Hollywood land, out on productions. What's the difference between above the line and below the line? There's we've talked about it in our hiring section a week ago or so. It's critical to know what all these terminology and aspects of different lingo mean, because you won't sound like an amateur. You'll sound like you know what you're talking about, and that's a huge part of fitting into the overall realm of entertainment, filmmaking, and getting hired. This book is like $9, I think, on Amazon. I put a link here that you can click on, take you right to it. I don't get anything from it. It's just a book I do recommend. I think it's absolutely fabulous. It was one of the first places where I started to learn, silly things, even something like an extension cord in our world, in real life. That's a stinger on a film set, and that's a clear differentiation when somebody says, "Can you grab me a stinger?" and you're looking at them like, "What are you talking about?" Versus you just know that that's an extension cord. What's above the line jobs versus below the line jobs? When somebody says striking on a film set, what's going to happen next? When they say saving, those are directly tied to the lights getting turned on and turned off. So understanding a lot of that lingo is going to carry really far. And again, it only costs $9. It's a super easy book. You can read on an airplane. You can read it when you're sitting around, doing nothing. Highly recommend that one. You want to take stock in yourself. Again, you should routinely do this. You'll hear me saying it often in different presentations and where it applies. It certainly applies here. When you're going to a new place, take the time to, again, take stock in yourself. What is it that's most important to you? Why is it that you want to be a part of this industry? Do you want to have a family, or do you want to be close to your existing family? Is your career something that you're really 100% dedicated to, completely want to make that your new life? What do your friend situation look like? Do you want to stay near your friends? Do you want to travel someplace else and make new friends? I love this video that I've put in here as a link. I heard it as a story in undergrad from a professor when I was in college and back at UMass. It's a story about, rocks, a jar, and then putting in rocks. And if starting with the small works and then filling it with bigger and bigger rocks until the jar is full, and really reflecting on what that means. This little video here does a great job of going through that. Now, if you're interested in it, go ahead and watch it. I think it'll really help, you with this exercise of taking stock in yourself and what's important to you. So you're moving to a new place. You have to find a place to live. I am a big proponent of safety. Always trying to find the safest place you can live. I haven't lived in the safest places in my life, and it's one of the first reasons that drove me to leave. I came home from school when I was a young kid, and my dog was in the backyard eating a steak. What the heck's going on here? I go in the house and everything was gone. We didn't even have much. So to steal from us, when I was a kid is kind of ridiculous. But anything that we had, small television, clothes, all kinds of just, anything that looked like it was of any value was taken from our house. And it was, we were super poor, and it literally devastated my mother. We ended up moving into a motel. She was a single mother with me and two other kids. And it's terrifying. It totally changes your whole paradigm of life, your idea of what being safe is, So it's super important to prioritize that safety. Yeah, you need to balance that with proximity to work and your budget. A lot of the things that you don't have control over, you have to find a way to find some control in there. Change some variables like the distance to work or your budget. Find more work to get more money, at least to prioritize that safety level. You can always consider a roommate, is one of the things I did in life as well, to have a nicer apartment than I could have afforded on my own. And when I had a roommate, again, do all the vetting, make sure you figure out somebody safe that you can live with, that you're comfortable with. But I always like to find people in a different field than myself. It just makes it more interesting to talk when you're at home. If the two of you are both filmmakers, yeah, you can talk about what you did, but it kind of gets to be too much, spending so much time on a film set and then talking with somebody at night as well. I kind of find it more interesting to talk to somebody else that's not necessarily going through the same thing. You just get a different perspective. I think it really helps. But of course, convenience and amenities within your budget are certainly a priority. Transportation options. Does it have a place that you can park if you have a car? Does it have proximity to public transportation if that's you're going to be your transportation mode? Where do other film professionals live in that locale? If you're moving to Louisiana, where do most of the people live? Again, because that's going to help set up networking potential. You might run into somebody in a coffee shop or in a restaurant. Kind of working where you live in proximity, I think, is a healthy thing if you can afford it. It's almost impossible in LA. But some of the other places, it is very much doable, where the films are going on. And if it was me looking for work, those are some of the places where I would be considering. I'd be considering Georgia would probably be my top pick, Vancouver, Louisiana, and Massachusetts for possible production work. So just to recap, look, when you're looking for a place to live, really focus on that safety priority, of course, balanced with your budget. And then, all the other variables that go into that, like amenities, convenience, transportation, take a close look at that. When you are living someplace, definitely consider some kind of hobby or sport. In California here, if you're up in LA, there's so many great options. We have basketball courts everywhere, outdoors, in neighborhoods, and people love to go blow off some steam, shoot some hoop, hang out in the court and just talk, sit around and network, talk to each other while other people are playing. It's just a great environment to meet new people, expand your network, possibly, meet some people that are in your existing sector or other sectors where there might be some opportunity for growth as well. Even if it's something of finding a day job, or another hobby, places to hang out, things to blow off steam. Just having some place like a basketball court that you go to. And again, there's so many of them here. They're on the beaches. They're in local neighborhoods all over the local towns up in LA. It's a really great opportunity. Same with volleyball. In my town here, we have multiple volleyball courts on the beach in the sand. This is literally a picture of one of them downtown. You'll find all kinds of people in entertainment down there. I have friends that are actors, producers, writers, and they all hang out on the volleyball courts and play volleyball with each other. And they take turns and rotate as teams are going. And as you're walking by, you'll hear them talking about entertainment and projects they're working on. It's just a great way to scope out the area, again, expand your network, spend some time outside in the sun, and get some relaxation while you're also having the potential to, again, continually expanding that network. Coffee shops, total cliche. Every movie we've ever seen, the writer is hanging out in the coffee shop, right? But it's so. I mean, it is true, and plenty of my friends do use them for the free Wi-Fi. They hang out. You'll hear other people chatting about stories and intruding on each other, and it's just the way it goes. People like talking to each other in these shops, and they kind of that's why they're going there. Because they're a writer and they want to talk to somebody else, or they're a producer and they hear somebody else talking and they're interested in joining in that project. Plus, you can't beat the free Wi-Fi, and usually, coffee shops, plenty of them other than Starbucks. You can go to Starbucks, but there's tons of other options around that are reasonably priced and don't have a problem with you hanging out and it becoming like your little office outside of your house. So there's tons of other hobby sports as well, by the way. These are just some of the big three that I know some of my friends go do, and I do myself, to, again, expand the network, meet new people, and just get outside for a little bit and, and do something outside of your tiny little cramped apartment. So keep all those in mind and the others that you might be able to do. You're probably going to need to find a day job. It's just a reality of the situation. The jobs are like pipeline jobs in entertainment. You're working on one, then there's nothing for a little while, and you're working on one, and then there's nothing. You really need to figure out how to balance that budget and kind of have a buffer to carry you along. And one of the things that you're going to just inevitably come into is probably having a day job. The closer to your business, to your functionality, to your specialty that you can get, the better. Especially flexible positions. If there's something that you can do for a production studio that you're working for, they want you to be a PA in the office, an office PA or something. That's excellent. That's a great way to, make connections and make a little money, as long as it's not too much work and too much responsibility, which is going to obviously be more pay, which is quite tempting. But then you ask yourself, well, maybe that's a job function that I should actually pursue versus, whatever specialty it is that you're trying to become better at. But I have plenty of friends that work in coffee shops, bookstores, and the biggest one these days is probably rideshare. Uber and Lyft, all those type of things. Tons of actor friends that are Uber drivers these days. It's become like the new waiter. The joke was that everybody was a waiter in LA was an actor, in the day. And that's kind of become Uber now. Every time you take an Uber, somebody's pitching you, the driver's pitching you a screenplay or, they're looking for an acting gig. But that's fine. I mean, that's where we live. That's LA, and it's the same in all these other cities as well that you're going to find, people doing production jobs in. So consider that proximity to the biz or something that like keeps you in the arena of where people are. You're in rideshare, you're around tons of people who are, going to film sets, going around town to studios, that kind of stuff. So consider proximity to the biz. Flexibility, try to try to avoid jobs that are too intense, the 40+ hour work week demanding. I've done that. I've tried to do my day job as a real job to feed my family, live in this house, and it's just too much. It's not possible to do whatever specialty it is that you want to be and have like a full-time, full-on real career. It's just not something that is really possible. You have to be in on the idea of being a director, being a producer, and then seeking out that work. And your day job should just be literally paying the bills and giving you some money to get by without being too out of disposable funds at the end of the month. So what'll happen is avoiding the vacuum is that day job when you have a day job that pays a lot and has a lot of responsibility, it's likely to pull your time. It's likely to suck you in. And, you're going to want to be more and do better at that, to become the executive, to become the manager, because you're making great money. I have tons of friends, even within they worked in bakeries or they worked in coffee shops, that they got pulled up the corporate ladder into becoming a manager at Starbucks or a manager at Bunt Cake or something, some cupcake shop, where they're now making pretty darn good money as a manager of that shop. And that's become their real job, and they're kind of like backed off of being a director or an actor or something like that. So if you truly want to be one of those Hollywood jobs, you have to be careful not to get sucked into the idea of a full-time day job career. It's best if it can be relatable. If you can find a job that helps you build skills into whatever it is that you're trying to do, If you're trying to be a costume designer, maybe if you get a job at Western Costume or Eastern Costume, stocking the wardrobes and that kind of thing that come in from studio sets. It's a great way to learn the business from, a different side of it, but it's still very relatable to the actual position that you want. Temp agencies can be absolutely fabulous. They can be great if you can partner in with a good temp agency and then make friends with the people there, find gigs that are related to what you're due. They're not long term. You're there for a specific time. You're working on a set for a week, and then you're working on a different set for 2 weeks. If you can keep that pipeline going and be flexible with it, it's absolutely great. Helps you broaden your network, helps you broaden your skills, and just keeps the money coming in so you can pay the bills. The last one, of course, is happiness. If you find happiness in pouring espresso or you hate it, depending on how that goes, you might need to either just be happy there and do that, and don't try to like make it something more, or find something else. Absolutely find something else. Don't settle for doing something that you're absolutely miserable at because it's paying the bills. There's plenty of other jobs out there. I have friends that work at Trader Joe's, and they're super happy being a checkout counter, and they're flexible, and they love the people that they work with. It's a huge part of it. If you like going to work and being around quote unquote work friends, and it's a nice, fun day environment, that's a great thing to be able to, go home and be happy with at the end of the day. And that's really what a lot of it boils down to, being happy with your situation. And if you're not, you've got to change it. In all of these scenarios, you're going to meet people that are quote unquote connectors. And if you've never heard the term connectors before, read the book Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. Absolute fabulous read. These are people that you meet in life. I've just got some examples, fake examples, by the way. I made these up, but they're similar to what you'll find out in the real world. A friend, you look on their LinkedIn connection and they've got 500 plus friends. Or, you go on their Instagram and they've got 10,000, 15,000 followers. I've got some friends that have millions of followers, so just engaging with those friends and keeping up with that, being a real friend to that connector, they can connect you to other people, massive people that you might not ever, have a network with. One of my friends, Mark, I went out this weekend with 5 friends, and those 5 friends, they're all filmmakers. One's a writer, one's a director, one's a producer, another one is movie poster, owns a poster company. And all of those friends, except for one, I met through my friend Mark. And all of us met each other from that friend Mark. And we were looking at Mark's LinkedIn profile, and he's literally got so many connections out there to so many different, people in the industry. And he loves connecting people. He literally hey, you should go out with, my buddy Eric and have coffee. You guys are always talking about the same kind of stuff. We go out together, and sure enough, we totally hit it off, and we've been best friends now for, 15 years. He is a true connector. So, staying connected with those people and, and expanding your network through theirs, meeting new ones out there in the world is a huge way. And it can be like this Jill example, the type of person who's constantly, I have a friend like this at Saddleback, she's constantly organizing new groups and, filmmaking clubs and bringing people together for, presentations that she's bringing people in to give a topic on a specific topic. Just amazing at bringing people together and, or forming community is really what it comes down to. So again, you really want to be a part of different communities, building communities, expanding communities, whether they're online or in person. Read the book, The Tipping Point, if you've never read it. It's an absolutely great book for employment seekers that are out there in the world. Do the chapter 7 exercise. This is, go page 75 and you're looking at expanding your network. It's got a little exercise about actually physically doing that. Try to expand your network here in Louisiana, Los Angeles, Vancouver, Atlanta, Louisiana, wherever it is you're interested in going. Try to expand that network. Again, that's on page 75, and I just put a little blip here. You can go to the actual page and elaborate on it. And then there's a fun little true or false questionnaire. I might actually turn it into a little questionnaire on our board. That might be a fun exercise to do now that I think about it. I will do that. I'll put a little, for the second exercise, I'll put a little true or false quiz board in our canvas that you can take. Because I think it is fun, answer those questions true or false, and we'll see how, like, what people think about them after reading the chapter 7, because it is a good chapter. A great way to expand your network as we're coming to a close here is Clubhouse. If you've never been on Clubhouse, it's an audio app where you join rooms and then talk to people in those rooms. Literally talk to the over the phone. I loved it over COVID. I don't use it so much now, honestly, but I did in COVID. I made met all kinds of new people all over the world, in different writing rooms, producing rooms, sci-fi rooms, gardening rooms, cooking rooms. There's all kinds of different clubs. As an example, I was on there and I was going to Vegas with my wife last year for our anniversary, which we're doing again this year. It reminds me I should probably do it again. I went into a room and I met a whole bunch of chefs, like professional chefs in Vegas, that gave me an inside scoop on some cool off the strip restaurants that that we might want to check out. And we did. We went to two of them, and one of them we went in and we got a chef's table, in the restaurant, sitting there with the chef, a guy that I met on Clubhouse, and he's talking to us the whole night and serving us incredible food. I never would have had an experience like that. I'm not an influencer or anything, fancy. So there's no way I would have been able to get a table like that, and I would have never found this restaurant just looking on TripAdvisor or something. So explore it, meet new people, expand your network, learn about new things. A great little app to check out. And again, that's Clubhouse. There's links here for you if you're interested in that. To recapture, the big thing that comes down to is sustaining a life while you're living for your dream job. We have to live. I mean, we live this life. You need to pay the bills and be able to, live in that aspect, but you also have to live and be happy, and be passionate about what you're doing and trying to go for your dream. And I think that starts one with being, health and happiness. There's a great little article that you can do some tips of staying happy in here. I think that's a major part of, being on this path to employment somewhere in Hollywood. You have to be happy, because if you're not happy now, you're never going to be happy when you find that dream job. I tell you from personal experience, I have friends that have their dream job, but they weren't happy, to start with, and they're not happy now. So finding what it is that makes you happy and then building that into your daily workflow. Figuring out your transportation status. What suits you best, what mode of transportation? Are you happy riding the Amtrak around and getting Ubers? Maybe having an electric bike around the town, or, a car? What would work best for your living situation, for your commuting situation, for work, where you're living? In California, it doesn't rain much. You can get away with having an electric bike in certain places. An electric scooter. I have a lot of students up at Pasadena that take the train and then they ride their electric scooter to class, a mile or two, and they zip right in. It works great. Tons of different options, but what works best for you? Housing is another one of those things, that what works best for you. I absolutely can't stress enough how paramount being safe is. Always prioritize safety, and then look at comfort, convenience, the other aspects of where you're living, that come into play. And if you do need to find a day job, absolutely find one to supplement your living expenses, your rent, just your overall budget. Find something that covers the bills, gives you a little bit of spending money, disposable at the end of the day, but don't sacrifice your safety, your sanity, or your passion for what it is that you're doing on a day job. It's just not worth it in the end. You remember that you're looking for employment in Hollywood, and if you can't find a day job and do that, maybe it's not the best thing for you, and maybe you should focus on something else that's easier, that you can find some happiness in, and be able to maintain a happy life that you're living. And then possibly, dabble with the dream job as a hobby. It doesn't need to be a career choice for everybody. Especially those that don't think they're up for it, because the only people I ever see succeed are the ones that are all in on it. There is very, very, very little accidental employment, quote unquote, lucky breaks. The lucky breaks that there are like, luck is in terms of where opportunity meets preparation. somebody's prepared for something to happen, and then a lucky break happens, and they nab it, and they're able to grab a job from that. Pure luck, the kind of lightning strikes, very very rare when that ever happens. So be considering that when you're looking for that day job. I hope everybody had a great weekend. I'm not a sports fan, football fan myself, but if you are, I hope you're happy with the outcome of the weekend here. And I do thank you for sticking in on this presentation. And be sure to check out Canvas for any more information. I'll definitely put that little quiz up there, and then we'll put a summary of it. Hope you have a great week, and we'll see you again next week. Thanks again.